Hey guys, what is up? Lefty back here again, and thanks for checking out the video. So today, this video is going to be kind of a continuation of my previous video about what to basically buy if you had 1,200 bucks for pandemic kind of shit. AR, how to kind of set it up and what to buy. That's kind of what a continuation is of this video, but for specifically kind of left-handers. Now, some of this information will apply to non-left-handers, but obviously it's not as pertinent, so take from it what you will, but basically this is for left-handed people. So let's get right into it. So picking up where we left off with kind of the main rifle, and this is kind of considering if you have everything else checked off. You have food, water, medical, whatever else you need. You have a gun, you have some ammo for it, some magazines to feed it and all that kind of shit. Then you have some money left over, or maybe you have that 1,200 bucks, that stimulus that you want to throw into it, how to kind of set it up to kind of put the gun in your advantage, make it a little bit more easier. This is kind of what this video is about. So let's get right into it. So what I would do, first thing I would do is charging handle. That I was not expecting that to happen. Just edit that part out. So first thing I would do is get a new charging handle. Two I would recommend is a BCM charging handle, either the first gen or the second gen, doesn't really matter. Those are going to be costing around 60 bucks, I think. The good thing during this pandemic is most of the parts are available. It's just the guns are not. So yeah, you shouldn't have it too hard of a time to try to find these, and they might be kind of lower in stock, but just kind of look around. I'm sure you probably can find them. But yeah, the first one is charging handle, and I would recommend, again, either a BCM or a Radian charging handle. This is a BCM one. This is their old school gen. And then two, they come in different sizes, most of them do, in terms of how far they stick off of the rifle. I actually like them to stick as far off as possible. Just be aware that the more that it comes off of the gun, the more possibility it has of snagging on you and potentially getting the weapon out of battery. So just be aware of that. The only reason I like it is because it's easier to manipulate. And the reason why I say always get an ambi charging handle, even if you're not left-handed, honestly, is because weapon manipulation during malfunctions. You need to be able to clear this gun, and that regular stock T-handle thing fucking sucks. It's chintzy and it breaks, and it's just not good. You usually have to come over the top of it in order to activate it, so it's just not great. It's not my preferred way. And then to, let's say I get an injury in my arm, I can manipulate this weapon. Let's say I get injured in this arm, well, I can still shoot with it because AR is a little bit nicer to shoot than AK. It's lighter and shit. I can throw this muzzle into a wall or something, and then I can run the charging handle, or run the charging handle if I need to switch to this hand to clear malfunctions or maybe a dead round or something like that. So T-handle, number one. Charging handle, whatever you want to call it. Then number two would be some type of ambi safety. This is kind of less, this is a little bit lower on the scale, but I think it's still important. Just again, if your hand gets injured, being able to just operate the safety on both sides. It's just kind of, I don't know, necessary in my opinion, because I like running the safeties as much as possible. Again, I would recommend Radian, but there is a whole bunch of cheaper ones out there that are about 20 bucks for, a standard safety selector. The issue with the standard safety selectors is most of the time they're just mirrored stock mil spec kind of shit. So they're extremely long, and a lot of times it'll cut into your shooting finger when you're using them. So just be kind of aware of that. So that's why I kind of prefer the nicer ones. And I think the Radians are probably the best on the market. That's about 45 bucks, something like that. So right now we're up to, depending, a little bit over 100 bucks. So it's going to rack up pretty quick. And then the third, and honestly probably the second, if I'm thinking about it now, is an ambi mag release. Now you can get away with just coming back and then just hitting that button there to release the magazine. However, I think just one of these, I don't know, it's worth its money in gold, or worth its weight in gold rather. This one is a Strike Industries. They're about 30-ish bucks. Actually just got this one. I like it quite a bit. It's a little bit easy to press, so you might have a magazine drop out when you don't want it to, which is kind of a bad thing. But the main issue is trying to lock the bolt open and keep the magazine inside the gun is kind of a pain in the ass with this one, because it is such a full design there. So Another one that I would recommend is by Forward Controls. Those are a lot nicer, but they are double the price. They're about 70 bucks. So that's some quite amount of money. So we're already pretty much past 150 bucks at this point. If you went to the most expensive realm, you're pushing 180-ish. So that still leaves us with a good amount of money there, but yeah, we're racking it up pretty quick for shit that's kind of necessary but not necessary. Okay, so then moving on, I would recommend a sighting system and a secondary sighting system. So that can be an optic and iron sights, or that can be an optic and laser. You're probably not going to be able to afford a laser on 1,200 bucks, but just saying, let's say you just had a laser, or maybe you have all this other shit and you didn't have a laser and you had an optic, maybe get a laser. I don't know, it's up to you. But personally, I would recommend 2 sighting systems. If you have a laser and optic, you don't need iron sights, and if you have optic irons, you're probably good. The reason why I recommend 2 sighting systems is in case one fails, you have a backup. If you have 2 sighting systems and they both fail, you probably don't want to shoot that gun because something fucked up happened to it. Yeah, because if this is fucked up and these got blown off the gun, this gun's probably not operable to an extent. It just depends. So that is going to vary widely in terms of price. For an optic, I would recommend the cheapest one that I know works good and that I would trust is probably, I would probably recommend the Trigon MRO. That is about a $500 optic, and then you can squeeze in about $120 backup sights, iron backup sights, and those vary in prices too. Magpul flip-ups, not the metal ones, are decent. These ones are Troy. I'm not a big fan of Troy, but you know, for the time being, they did have one of the best iron sights on the market. So, and they still sort of do. I hate to admit, but it kind of is what it is. But yeah, that's just gonna have to. You're just gonna have to figure out what you want. You can also get an LPVO, which is a low power variable optic. The one that I've used that I think is actually very budget friendly but still high quality is actually a Trigon 1-4 AccuPower. I think that is probably one of the better bangs for the buck. But then you also have to get a mount if you're gonna get a scope, and those are real, at least 100 and some bucks. So you're gonna rack up money very quickly if you go that route. But you know, to each their own. And then I would recommend a light. On the weapon, some type of rifle mounted light. Bloop bloop. I like Streamlight just because they are very cost effective and they're very reliable. I've heard some issues with the HLX, the rail mounted HLX, having a kind of some issues I think are now rectified. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I would recommend the Streamlight, what the hell is it called? ProTac rail mount 2 or 1. 1 or 2, just depends on how many cells it's going to have in it. 1 cell is going to be lower, 2 cells are going to be brighter. 2 cells I think is about 500 lumens, 1 cell is about 300. So it's going to depend. For a rifle, I kind of want more lumens just because I might be shooting further. So I want more throw, obviously. And these got a pretty good amount. And they do come with a nice little rail mounted pressure switch that actually is pretty decent. You know, you're going to have to be able to mount this and tie the wires down because these pressure pads, the wiring and the pad itself is the weak point. So if this shit gets tangled up or it gets broken, this fucking light's dead. So, you know, just be kind of aware. You can spend more on lights. Surefire has a pretty good one, except those are going to be significantly more. Those are going to be $200-300 bucks minimum, and this right here is about 120-ish bucks. So kind of do what you will there. And I like, if you are going to run a light, I do like running a pressure pad so I can run it on the opposite side of the gun. So this is just getting into the tactic port of the reason why I kind of set shit up. So over here I have a mount or a hook point for a, I can't think of the goddamn word. I can't think of it. For a sling. So if I were to put my hand in a sling, I can actually mount it against a wall and actually get really tight against and actually stabilize my shot if I'm taking like a standing shot. Now, if I'm on the opposite side, so the wall's here, I can actually dig my light into the wall and actually do the same thing. as that. Now, it's kind of my tactic thing. You don't really have to take part of, but it's just something to think of. So if I have a wall here, I can tighten up my sling, press it against the wall, and push my rifle out to really get a nice stable platform to shoot from, and vice versa. If the wall's on this side of me, I can dig into the wall on this side to get a really stable shot. Or say I'm on this side and I'm peeking out this way, I can dig my rifle light into the wall on this side too. So it just kind of depends on personal preference, but I'm not going to do the math, but that should be, if you spend your money wisely, you should be able to get all your bases covered well with under 1,200 bucks, maybe. So let's say it's about 500, 620-ish. Let's see, it's like 620, so it'd be like 665. It'd be like 60, I suppose. It'd be like 7. You should be able to do it pretty well. That sounds about right for the math. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Hope everybody is doing well and staying safe and getting all your shit covered up, because while the light at the end of the tunnel is visible, that light may be a train. Don't know. I guess we'll see when we get there. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. Be good.